disruptive.
Weird thing to happen. It's the big moment, folks. The big moment that apparently they're holding justice to Ghislaine Maxwell. They got her. They're going to talk to her, and we're going to find out and put this to bed. That's apparently what the Trump administration is claiming. So here's the statement from the AG, Attorney General Pam Bondi, restating what the other Attorney General, Todd Blanche, said here. This Department of Justice does not shy away from uncomfortable truths, nor from the responsibility to pursue justice wherever the facts may lead. Oh my God. Oh, well, always start with a joke. The joint statement of the DOJ and FBI of July 6th remains as accurate today as it was when it was written. Namely in the recent I can't even say this without laughing. Namely in the recent thorough review of the files maintained by the FBI in the Epstein case, no evidence was uncovered that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. You mean the files you said don't exist? I love how they can't even keep a lie straight. First it was, they're on my desk. First it was, then it went to, well, we had to go through all the videotapes. Then they said there's no files. Now you're telling me there are files and you went through them. What is it? What is it? How is it that you can't even manufacture a proper lie and keep that intact? Like, how absurd this has become. It's so laughable. It is so laughable. President Trump has told us to release all credible evidence. If Ghislaine Maxwell has information about anyone who has committed crimes against victims, the FBI and the DOJ will adhere to what she says. Therefore, at the direction of Attorney General Bondi, I have communicated with counsel for Miss Maxwell to determine whether she will be willing to speak with prosecutors from the department. I anticipate meeting with Miss Maxwell in the coming days. Until now, no administration on behalf of the department have inquired about her willingness to meet with the government. That changes now. So this is the kind of big moment that the Trump administration that's been covering up this ever since they've concluded that Trump will possibly be on the Epstein list. No doubt about it. Now they're trying to make this the final vitriol of saying, here, finally, we're doing something about it, okay? This woman's going to speak. We're going to find out the truth. Case closed, okay? Happy? Complete? Even though conducting interviews with Ghislaine Maxwell herself is like all the people expecting OJ to find who the real killers were. That's how hilarious this is. So here is Todd Blanche, the other Department Justice head that's interviewing Ghislaine Maxwell. He states, justice demands courage. For this first time, the Department of Justice is reaching out to Ghislaine Maxwell to ask, what do you know? At Attorney General Pam Bondi's direction, I've contacted her counsel. I intend to meet with her soon. No one is above the law, and no lead is off limits. Oh, the hystericalness of this. The hystericalness of what this comes down to. So, who is this Todd Blanche guy? And why does this name seem familiar to a lot of people? Well, according to this, the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney are friends. No kidding. No kidding. Todd Blanche phones a friend on Epstein. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche is phoning a friend as the administration deals with the fallout over the Epstein files. President Trump's former personal attorney turned Justice Department deputy. So he used to be a litigator for Donald Trump. And then while dealing with that personally, he became part of the Justice Department. Announced Tuesday that he would initiate talks with lawyer for Ghislaine Maxwell, disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice. Left unmentioned, the lawyer, David Oscar Marcus, happens to be a friend. happens to be a friend. And what's funny about this, folks, is while this circular drama, this soap opera dilemma still continues on, I've been reading Whitney Webb's book, One Nation Under Blackmail, which is kind of the closest thing we're going to get to the Epstein client list. And what I've come to realize, and I think I stated this before, but what I've now been certain about why they're doing this cover-up, why they're making a mockery of themselves, why this has become such an international embarrassment to prosecute, friends of the playground, these, pedophiles that are running around internationally and being escorted around with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, is because it's not even about the sexual exploitation of children. Obviously, that is a crime. Obviously, that's something that needs to be prosecuted. I totally condone anybody complicit with that. But the reason they're keeping this under wraps is because of the power it exhorts from this. The power, the manipulation, the blackmail, the deceit, the betray that comes out of this. That powerful figures, the powerful entities are being manipulated by even more powerful entities. That's why they're keeping this under wraps. That's why they never want to release this. And it really sums up the question of why no other administration or why no other country has bothered to look into this. Because Jeffrey Epstein's client list, this isn't just about the United States. This isn't an American crime. This is an international situation. So why is no other country bothered to look into this or come to their own conclusions or have their justice departments investigate this? Because other countries are also complicit to this list. Other countries are well known about this. We know that our Prime Minister, Mark Carney, and his wife are good friends with Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. In fact, Diana Fox Carney was neighbors with the Maxwell family and grew up together. They went to the same schools. She is very familiar with Ghislaine Maxwell and Robert Maxwell being tied to the Mossad, doing these escapades behind closed doors. They are well aware about this. And they don't want to reveal the secret. They don't want to be caught red-handed. Because if this actually gets known to the public, if people are more aware about this situation, then the power interest of this completely corrodes. It completely collapses within itself. And you can't blackmail anyone for doing these sexual acts if people are aware of who these perverts are. That's one of the many reasons why they're trying to keep this under wraps. And including someone like Donald Trump. Donald Trump, who had his whole campaign about exposing the Epstein list because he thought it was going to be a good deed for his party. He thought it was going to win brownie points over people. He thought that, it's only Bill Clinton and Barack Obama and the Democrats that are guilty of this. Until the moment they realize that, oh shit, I'm on this list. Donald Trump is on this list. The Trump family knows about this. Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein were frequent guests at Mar-a-Lago. In fact, one of the top accusers, Virginia Roberts, who's now Virginia Giuffre, who's unfortunately passed, worked at Mar-a-Lago when she got recruited by Jeffrey Epstein. So Trump is very well aware of this. Trump is very, very, very well of this. But here, he was asked in front of the White House here, what do you hope Todd Blanche gets out of the meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell? And here's Trump's response, making an embarrassment of himself and his entire campaign that promised people to expose the Epstein lists. Watch this.
Out of his meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell. What are you hoping Todd Blanche gets out of his meetings with Ghislaine Maxwell?
Well, I don't know about the meeting. I know it's taking place, and he's a fantastic man. He's a great attorney, and people should really focus on how well the country's doing, or they should focus on the fact that Barack Hussein Obama led a coup, or they should focus on the fact that Larry Summers from Harvard that Bill Clinton, who you know very well, and lots of other friends, really close friends of Jeffrey Summers, should be spoken about. Because, Jeffrey Epstein should be spoken about. And they should speak about them, because they don't talk about them. They talk about me. I have nothing to do with the guy.
Are you considering
Yep. Let's change the subject here. Let's talk about that Barack Obama. Let's talk about that guy. The biggest coup in American history. You mean you don't want to talk about international sex trafficking of minors that involve youngest children, vulnerable, impressionable children, that your entire campaign, the whole MAGA movements, the QAnon movements, any devoted Christian, pro-life, pro-family, full-blooded American would care about? Yeah, move on from that. Barack Hussein Obama did the biggest... It's just... It's such an embarrassment. It's such an embarrassment. And they're realizing that they're screwed. They're realizing that they're between a rock and a hard place. Because they built up the notion of releasing Epstein. They brought up the popularity of this guy and this scandal and made it very publicly known. Everyone kind of had hints about this when Jeffrey Epstein first had his trial in Florida, which, by the way, the Attorney General Pam Bondi was responsible for covering that scandal up. So that should have been a red flag there to reveal that they were never going to release the Epstein clientele list. But nonetheless, your party, your platform is responsible for activating people in their interest of this. And so many podcasters, researchers, investigative journalists, documentarians have covered the span of this. And your party is responsible primarily for that built-up that now you're deliberately crashing down because you don't want to expose yourself on that list. That's what makes this so hilarious, and why Trump is making a mockery of himself, trying to deflect it as much as possible. Let's talk about Hussein Obama. What about Bill Clinton? Bill Clinton's on that list. Yes, and so were you. You are part of the Epstein scandal. And the more you try to deflect, the more it makes you look more guilty. If you really were innocent, you would just release the evidence, release all the findings, and then probably make up some BS story about how you know Epstein. But the more you cover this up, the more guilty it makes you look. And that's what Trump is doing here. He's making himself more guilty by doing this, which is so hilarious. So here, this is from a page called Fulcrum, and they broke down. So Ghislaine Maxwell's DOJ meeting sparked new scrutiny over the Epstein files. So bringing on Epstein's pimp that brought underage children to an island, lying them about, consulting and, being involved in movies and modeling. Yeah, getting her to confess when she knows that the international criminal cartel that truly run the world, the mafia men that truly run the world, want her to stay silent, and what they did to her accomplice, Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a win situation for Team MAGA. But anyway, it goes on to say Ghislaine Maxwell, the convicted accomplice of Jeffrey Epstein, has met twice this week with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, a move that's raising eyebrows across Washington and reigniting public demands for transparency in the Epstein saga. Maxwell, currently serving a 20-year sentence in Florida federal prison, reportedly initiated the meetings herself, according to attorney David Oscar Marcus. She answered every single question posed by DOJ officials over the course of 9 hours of interviews. She answered every single question. What do you guys want? She did everything she could. You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like Jill Biden when, after a horrible debate her husband was put through with Donald Trump, and she still had to put on the brave face and lie directly to her husband. You did a good job, Joe. You answered all the questions. That's what I get out of that. She answered all the questions. What are we supposed to do? Sources indicate that she was granted limited immunity, which allowed her to speak freely without fear of self-incrimination. The meetings came amid mounting pressure on the Trump administration, which has faced backlash for walking back earlier promises to release all Epstein-related documents. Reports from the Wall Street Journal and CNN indicate that Donald Trump's name appears multiple times in the Epstein files, though officials stress that being named doesn't imply wrongdoing. So, again, if they want to prove their innocence, why would they not just release the documents? That way you can point the finger and say, look, Bill Clinton's on this list, Bill Gates is on this list. You can at least point out your enemies and then make up some BS story of why you're on that list. The more you cover this up, the more guilty it makes you guys look. You guys are now the guilty ones for continuously covering up something that you promised your entire base that would be in your platform. That you were going to release the Epstein-related documents. That was your entire pitch to bring people to your party. And now that people have gotten slapped in the face once again by the Trump administration, people are angry. People are pissed off. People want answers. And they're going to look for answers. They're going to look to see whether or not that Trump was a part of the Epstein scandal. And there's more and more evidence putting him in that picture than it is proving his innocence. So it's really an embarrassment to themselves. The House Oversight Committee has now subpoenaed Maxwell to testify remotely in August, potentially opening the door to public revelations about Epstein's network and its ties to powerful figures. Legal experts believe her testimony could shed light on the alleged client list, travel arrangements for underage victims, and whether influential individuals, including politicians and celebrities, were involved. While the DOJ has stated that no further charges are expected and that no client list exists, critics argue that Maxwell's cooperation suggests otherwise. As Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz put it, she is the Rosetta Stone. She knows everything. But again, I make the argument that you interviewing Ghislaine Maxwell, the top executor, to bring underage people to Jeffrey Epstein's island and get people involved in this network is not going to give you the answer you're expecting. Obviously, she's going to lie. Obviously, she's going to cover it up. If you know anything about Maxwell or the Maxwell family, you know how potentially serious it is to keep this under wraps. That's why in a book like Whitney Webb that published, One Nation Under Blackmail, it highlights that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell are just two individuals from this greater cabal of scandal that spans internationally that they're never going to hold accountable. They're never going to prosecute. They're never going to do justice. They're never going to support the victims because the whole measure has not much to do with the perversion itself, but has more to do with the blackmail and manipulation that keeps this power afloat, that keeps the world's biggest criminals in their power structure. And if word got out about that, if Ghislaine Maxwell testifies and really does say the truth, then all the key figures that are the powerful individuals that truly run this world and blackmail and deceive other powerful figures to comply with their agenda, that all goes away. That all goes away. So I'm not giddy. I'm not up in arms to think that Ghislaine Maxwell is cooperating and think that this is a good thing. I know that there's going to be cover-ups. I know that there's going to be lies. I know that having Trump's former personal prosecutor involved in interviewing Ghislaine Maxwell, there's going to be a cover-up there. There's going to be a cover-up with Pam Bondi, because Pam Bondi was the state attorney general when Jeffrey Epstein was first convicted. And she covered that up in the state of Florida. So why would I expect anything different? This just seems like a scandal. This just seems like a theatrical performance. Just like the Diddy trials. That's why they covered that up. They made a show trial to convince people that, hey, we're doing something about this. And then he got off scot-free. Because the world, they don't want the world to know that everything is run by this criminal syndicate mafia that has blackmail, deceit, and control over every single person, and they are the biggest known perverts in mankind history. They don't want people to know that. So here's Brian Krasenstein pointing this out. It says, urgent, Ghislaine Maxwell met privately with Todd Blanche, the man who used to be Trump's personal defense attorney in New York City. Trump appointed him deputy attorney general in March. Yes, you read that right. Trump made his own criminal defense lawyer the second highest official at the DOJ. How wasn't that front page news everywhere is baffling. And now Blanche, Trump's own lawyer, is the only person allowed to meet with Maxwell. No FBI agents, no independent observers, just Trump's fixer sitting alone with the most notorious figures in recent memory. They'll spin this as a DOJ interview, but let's be honest, this stuff is the stuff of authoritarian regimes. We are watching corruption unfold in real time on a scale this country has never seen. So, again, this is all for show. This is all theatrics. They are never actually going to prosecute anybody. They're not going to release any names. They're not going to do anything about it, because doing something about it is hurting the entire power structure that keeps these masterminds afloat, because of who's all involved in this. And if you've read Whitney Webb's book, which I highly recommend, go check it out, One Nation Under Blackmail, it reveals a lot of daunting things on an international scale. We're not just talking about American crime. We're talking about the biggest, insane, psychotic, sociopathic, bloodthirsty criminal content in human history that's still continuing on. You have bloodthirsty, perverted criminals that are running the world. That's what's happening. And if anything got revealed out of that, that's why Epstein had to go away. That's why Virginia Giuffre had to go away. That's why they had to get people silenced, as they say. We got to take out the trash, to use mobster lingo. They had to silence people because they don't want anything to be revealed to the general public about this. So when Trump was asked this, if Maxwell is going to be pardoned now, because this is what they're now speculating, this is what they're hoping is going to come out of this, that they hope that, if we bring on Maxwell to answer a bunch of questions, which she answered so perfectly, if she answers a bunch of questions, then she's allowed to go free because she complied to the State Department. She complied to the Department of Justice. And the Trump administration is hoping that's going to fool people to think that, well, she's innocent because she complied. And here's what Donald Trump said about, when asked about if they're going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, of all people.
Would you consider a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell if she's
It's something I haven't thought about. It's really something.
Recommended.
It's something I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about.
But you wouldn't rule it out, sir.
Why has Mr. President? Why has
you consider?
So that really shows the cover up. That really shows the whole scandal behind this. That not only are you using your personal attorney to meet one-on-one with Ghislaine Maxwell, You're giving her softball questions. You've already stated that you're not going to prosecute anyone with this information. And now that we know it's more and more confirming that Trump is a part of this scandal, what's really highlighting the guilt behind Donald Trump is the fact that you are trying to scapegoat people into a different direction, and you're going to pardon the person you stated was part of the scandal that you were going to reveal to your demographic, to the people that voted for you, to your base. So this whole thing is really just nothing. This whole thing of getting Ghislaine Maxwell out of prison, having the DOJ pretend to give her tough questions, and now you're going to say you're going to pardon her. The whole thing is just a complete, just utter betrayal, not only to MAGA, but to America as a whole. This is a betrayal to every single person that wants safety for their kids, that want answers and accountability. This makes an entire mockery of the whole judicial process. That you are going to bring on Ghislaine Maxwell, barely hold her accountable for her actions, claim that she answered all the questions correctly, and then claim that in light of that, you're going to pardon her. Meanwhile, you went after people like Julian Assange or Edward Snowden. It's a entire, just absolute betrayal to the judicial process, to what America stands for, to everybody. To everybody. So, he was even asked this again when he made trip into Scotland most recently. And Call to Activism says, breaking, the clearest sign yet, Trump is weighing a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell. In Scotland, asked about Todd Blanche's meeting with her, Trump brought up the word pardon twice without being prompted. So the reporter in Scotland isn't asking if Ghislaine Maxwell is going to be pardoned. Trump just blurted it out. Blurted right to that reporter's face about pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell. Watch.
Todd Blanche interviewing Ghislaine Maxwell. What are you hoping that they get out of that?
I really have really nothing to say about it. She is being talked to by a very smart man, by a very good man, Todd Blanche. And I don't know anything about the conversation. I haven't really been following it. A lot of people are asking me about pardons. Obviously, this is no time to be talking about pardons. But a lot of people have.
So there's the tell right there. She didn't ask you about pardons. She just asked you about the meetings. Do you think the meetings are going to be conducted well? And here he is exposing himself. This is making him more guilty and saying, well, everybody's talking to me about pardons. Everyone's been talking to me about pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell. I didn't ask you about pardoning. I just asked you about the meeting. You're the one that's bringing up pardoning. Why would you pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, of all people? You were the one that talked about how her and Bill Clinton and the Democrats are involved with this sex trafficking scandal. Why would you want to pardon someone that your supposed enemies are in bed with? That's because you are a part of it. And this is making you more guilty than it's doing you defense. This is making Trump more guilty than defending his name, defending his honor. Not only for using your own personal attorney, but now you're exposing yourself in Scotland when a journalist did not mention the word pardon, asked about the meetings, and you frantically brought up the word pardon twice. And to top it off, this doesn't help his image whatsoever when sitting down with Axios, they asked him about Ghislaine Maxwell, about how they were going to pursue to have a sit-down interview with one-on-one with Todd Blanche and her asking tough questions about Jeffrey Epstein, which we knew it's not going to be tough questions. And Trump responded. He responded by saying, "I wish Ghislaine Maxwell well." And the reporter had to chime in to Trump, reminding him that this is a child sex trafficker. Not only that, she's a child sex trafficker on an international scale. This is not just an American crime. This is an international conglomeracy of the most powerful individuals you could not imagine. And Trump, again, exposed himself, making an embarrassment of himself, and tarnishing what credible innocence he has in the scandal.
The other day, a reporter asked you about Ghislaine Maxwell. You said, quote, "I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, but I wish her well, whatever it is." Mr. President, Ghislaine Maxwell has been arrested on allegations of child sex trafficking. Why would you wish such a person well?
I don't know that, but I do know that
She has. She's been arrested for that. You know
her
that.
friend or boyfriend
Epstein.
was either killed or committed suicide in jail. She's now in jail. Yeah, I wish her well. I'd wish you well. I'd wish a lot of people well. Good luck. Let them prove somebody was guilty. I mean, do you know that
Oh,
she's
so you're
guilty?
saying you hope she doesn't die in jail? Is that what you mean by wish her well?
Her boyfriend died in jail, and people are still trying to figure out, how did it happen? Was it suicide? Was he killed? And I do wish her well. I'm not looking for anything bad for her.
Oh,
I'm not
God.
looking bad for anybody. And they took that and
I mean,
they
she's a
made it
child
such
alleged child sex
a
trafficker.
big deal. But all it is her boyfriend died. He died in jail. Was he killed? Was it suicide? I do. I wish.
That doesn't help your cause whatsoever. That pretty much wrecks any innocence Trump has with the whole Epstein scandal. When you start, jumping in and say, "I wish her well. Yeah, she's a sex trafficker, but I wish her well." But let's talk about other scandals. Let's talk about that auto pen scandal. Let's talk about Joe Biden. Let's talk about Barack Obama. Let's talk about Bill Clinton. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about that Elon Musk who betrayed me. Like, the more deflection you do, the more it makes yourself guilty. And that's what I'm seeing here. Nothing but guilt, nothing but lies. And he is desperate to keep this under wraps because he knows not only is his name on the list, but he knows how powerful and influential having this sex trafficking network is. They know that's a powerful entity. They know that trafficking people is a huge industry for powerful figures that truly run the world. And they never want that to be exposed, because if that gets exposed, then their whole entire model of deception and control over everybody, including other powerful figures, completely goes away. Completely goes away. And they don't have that touch anymore. So they will keep this under wraps no matter what. And that is why when people ask the question, well, when the Democrats release the Epstein files? No kidding, they wouldn't release the Epstein files if they're a part of it. Because they know how influential, they know how powerful something like this is. And that's why they were petrified and worried that, oh my God, if Trump gets elected, the Epstein files are going to be released. And oh my God, everyone got so crazy. Woo! We're going to go after Bill Gates. We're going to go after Bill Clinton. We're going to go after Jimmy Kimmel and Tom Hanks and all the other people we suspect are on the Epstein list. Oh, but if Daddy Trump's on it, then yeah, we can't talk about it anymore. Let's talk about the auto pen. Let's talk about that. Talk about the scandals. Talk about the scandals in the Democratic Party. Forget trafficking. Forget trafficking. Nah, 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 nah. They will go to extreme lengths to keep this covered up. But luckily, luckily for platforms like here and Kim Iverson, Jimmy Dore, so many other podcasters, individuals that have broken down beforehand all this information that they have discovered. Books like Whitney Webb's, again, I highly recommend checking out One Nation Under Blackmail, because that is the closest you're going to get to finding out the truth about this whole Epstein cabal. And it's not even really about Epstein. It's about the whole notion of enticing people with trafficking, with perversion of minors, enticing people to that, to then hold power over them. That's what all this is about. And intelligence communities know about this. Countries know about this. Prime ministers know about this. Presidents know about this. All the administrations around the world know about this. And I'm just in shock and dismay that no other place in the world would even resort to jumping on to investigating the Epstein clientele list. Like, we know that America is falling short on this. So where's all the justices in Canada to look at it? Again, we're talking about international sex trafficking. International sex trafficking. So children around the world are being trafficked to this network. Why isn't there being more done about this? Because of how powerful that list really